Well, hey everyone. Welcome to Speaking Truth. I am here with my friend Lisa Dingle. As you know, she's been on before, and she is also the pastor's wife at my church, Millville Assembly. And we are just, you know, catching up, which is amazing that we can do that through social media. And, just want to talk about what everybody's talking about these days, right? Fighting the faith versus fear emotions. And so, how are you doing, Lisa?
Doing okay. It's been, like everyone, we've been adjusting to a new normal of the way that we do life, the way we do family, work, church. Every domain of life has been affected in so many ways. So,
Mhm.
sort of just recalibrating and going from there.
Yeah, yeah. You kind of have to. It's like you don't really have a choice but to just roll with it.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
for sure. And then just, and the people that are in your circle, just like working together to navigate through it, peacefully and solving problems together and working together and um and just being sensitive to everyone is at different places in their adjustment as well you know
And I have to imagine, like, even with the church, make obviously the decisions that have to be made, and then just making sure to try to keep connected with everybody. And,
Mhm.
that's kind of a tough thing to do too. So thankfully, our church has life groups, and so we're kind of still keeping connected in that way. But yeah, it's been a challenge. I would say for sure, like you said, a new normal. And it's been 2 weeks now, and so you're just wondering, like, how much longer is this going to last. and
Yeah,
and I was telling you, like, thankfully I'm able to get out and just get some fresh air and take a walk. And um but yeah, like, just, I think no matter where you're at, I think for some it's like, oh my gosh, everybody is in my 19 inches of personal space, and like, can you please go back to work? And can you
yeah,
go back to school? And then, for me, it's just, I live alone, and so fighting those, you know I think sometimes when you're in an isolation mode, like, you can almost, even though you don't like being isolated, you can sink into that real quick, and then you just almost don't want to talk to anybody.
yeah,
And
sort
I
of
was even saying
burrowing into your hole.
Yeah, like I was even saying Monday, like when it was time for us to do our, life group on Zoom, like I wasn't even going to get on because I was just like settling into that, that isolation. And for me, it's been so much about being intentional, because I don't have people around me to kind of, you know, and I'm an extrovert. So I like
Mhm.
being around people. And so when you don't have that, you almost have to intentionally force yourself to keep feeding yourself some encouragement. So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things, I think, in terms of just like mental health and emotional health and through, my work, we've been like checking on all of our families that we work with, but just part of that is being like having like self-awareness, like having awareness of like what are the thoughts that are flying through my head,
Mhm.
and there's a name for those called automatic negative thoughts. And, the short for that would be ANTs, ANT, and starting to notice, like, am I having like, these negative thoughts that are starting to like fly through my head, and then usually those are accompanied by feelings, which are not, the feelings that you don't usually, enjoy having. So like you mentioned that intention, I think that's also part of it is having that, running your thoughts and feelings through that, you know, like how you make spaghetti and you put it through the colander, in the water, like, so just like streaming through and evaluating, like, how am I doing? You know, how's my mindset? How am I doing? Because if I'm not doing well, I need to take action and do something to get myself in a better place.
And that's, I think, with, and we've talked about this even in prior discussions, but, um, that's that whole thing of you have a choice. Like, we sometimes think, well, this is just how I'm feeling, but you do have a choice in, we can talk ourselves in or out of anything. And, when the thoughts do come, you do have a choice to reroute your, your thought process. You really do. Like, and so I'm, just learning that just in the season that I'm in, but especially now when you're thrown into like something like this, where you have to, um, you have to keep reciting, verses of the Bible. You have to keep going back to those things, because, those are the truths that we stand on. Those are the things. And listen, just because this has happened doesn't mean that those truths all of a sudden go away. Like, that's our faith, that's our foundation. And so, whether we're isolated in the house, and I did read a thing on Facebook, like, we're not stuck in the house, we're safe in the house. And I love that. It's just like,
Yeah,
choose one.
reframing it.
Yeah, and we're safe right now from what is going on, you know
Yeah,
um,
that's good.
yeah. And so just choosing those little things to go back to God's word. Well, I don't know what he's doing, but I know that he works all things together for good, and I know that he's going to keep me safe. I know that he's going to deliver us. I know, like, all of those things that you have to just keep intentionally going back to, because some days, I mean, listen, and I think that's why, with mental health, that there's so many people who get to this place of hopelessness and feel like, um, there is no hope. And so they end up taking their lives, because they feel like, well, if I wasn't around, life would be better. Like, they don't feel like they can ever pick themselves out of the pit. And when you get to times like this where things are so confusing, and um, you can fall into that trap, and so you have to really go back to the truths. And again, like, just reminding yourself that this isn't going to last forever,
Right.
you know
Right.
um,
And I think too, like you mentioned, it can escalate quickly and really more de-escalate in terms of someone's mood and, you know, going down a negative spiral. And that's why it's so important that we are checking on one another and, looking out for each other. And, we had our life group meeting on Monday night, and it was so much fun. We had our 100-year-old senior saint join us, and that was really sweet and special. And like, we got done with that call, and I just felt like so happy. I just was like, that was just so cool, and it was great to connect with everyone. And God has even made us that, even in our brain chemistry, that there's, hormones that are released, when we make connection with others. And so, there was in my heart, I was happy to see everybody, genuinely. But even just the way God made us, organically, he made us to connect with one another, even introverts, that there's, and that we have that feeling of connection and bonding, as a result of those moments. And it does, it lifts you up. It helps you to feel better. And if there was ever a season that we needed to be doing that, it's definitely, now, considering everything.
well, I shared with you, like, I wasn't going to come on, and then you sent in the group thing, like, hey, we're starting now. And I was kind of like, because again, like, you don't like being alone, but then you're just like, oh, like, listen, the devil can get in your head real quick. And
Yeah.
so, but then I thought, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go on and whatever. And it was great, because I felt so much better after we did. And it was amazing. Like, we
Mhm.
Luella, who is 100, and it was so amazing when she popped up on
That
the
was me.
call, because, like, and she did it herself. So
Mhm.
it's just to show that anybody can do it. So
Yeah.
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 um
So, and I think part of it too is just having self-awareness. And I was, noticing for me sometimes, by like, and part of just you taking care of yourself is, at night, I can notice that and maybe it's just been, a day of like, you know, and I'm on social media, I see updates, see what's happening, and maybe it's just been a day of like gathering information and praying and interceding. But I can also notice that when I'm starting to get tired, I might start to get a little bit more anxious. And that's sort of like my cue, like it's time to go to bed. It's time to go to sleep. And just to have that place of rest. And I'm thankful that, I'm able to sleep. And I have noticed that, I think, everyone, Christine Kane had this quote about like, I think everybody's just like holding their breath, like waiting for the next thing, but can everybody just have a collective, exhale? But I've noticed, a little bit more just hypervigilance. Like when I wake up now at night, I'm a little bit more like, I stay awake a little bit longer, than I normally do. And I think it's just because of, the heightened state of things. Um, but just, the need to just get sleep, and sometimes just that's your brain, healing itself, resetting, for the next day to start fresh. And it definitely speaks to just making sure you're getting sleep, making sure you're eating, like taking walks, getting exercise, like, when everything changes and gets turned upside down and your routines are all over the place, it's like now like creating new routines. And now I think for most, it's been a couple of weeks of like figuring it out. And, it's like, okay, this isn't vacation. This is our new normal. And is this how you want things to continue to be, because it's probably going to be going on for a little while still. So, what you've been doing the last couple of weeks, do you want to continue that, or do you want to make some shifts to be healthier? In
Funny.
my, I was just going to say that like at work, we have, staff meetings online now. We were all joking about like how everybody's just eating so much junk food and quarantine snacks. And, I guess we need to be careful about, instead of the freshman 15, the quarantine 15 or something. But now it's like, okay, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Is this going how you want it to go? And if not, let's reset.
What's funny is like, I think after we finally get to the place of accepting the new normal, we're gonna have to go back to another, like the old new
Yeah.
normal. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be readjusting, again. And so, yeah, definitely. And I feel like, for moms who have to homeschool, I can't imagine. I mean, I struggled with just doing homework with my kids. So I can't imagine,
Yeah.
now having to homeschool and on top of working and all of that. And so there's a lot of stress and just pressure on people. But I think, and I was saying this like to you, like we all go through seasons of our lives where we feel like we're in this storm and, when are we going to get out and when is it going to pass? But like now the whole world's in this storm together.
Yeah.
And that's where, when you read all these things, and I don't really turn on the news. I do go on like the governor's page once a day after the numbers come out, and I can feel my like anxiety, like as soon as the numbers come out, I can feel like the anxiety just building and not about getting sick, it's just becoming more and more real what is happening, right? And so, and then you think, how long is this going to last? And but it's been interesting to watch like the church's response and Christians' responses. And some people think it's the enemy is just having a field day, and some people believe that God has really given us a wake-up call. And I think, you know when you read the Bible and you read some of the stories in the Old
Yeah.
Testament, and you read, I mean, God, yes, God is a God of love, and yes, he's unconditional. His love is unconditional, and but he also sends judgment, and he also brings wrath. And I'm not saying that is what is happening. I just think that it's not our job to question what is happening. Whether, there were floods and famines and, all of these things that happened, for God to get his people's attention, so is he trying to get our attention in this time? I don't know. But I do feel like it is a time to really, um, make sure you're right with God,
Mhm.
and really be crying out, for the protection and the provision during this time and in the time to come, because out of this period there's going to be, just even the world's going to change for a while financially, and and I feel like just the self-reflection of thinking about where you're at in your life. Like, um, are you right before the Lord? Are you right with other people? Are you, serving? Are you using the life that God gave you? Because man, things can change like so quickly. And that's been some of the, just for myself, because I'm a anytime anything happens, that's what I tend to do. You kind of
Yeah,
self reflect, like, and so where am I at in my life, and do where do I believe God wants me to be in my life, and am
yeah,
I really making the most of the life that He's given me, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Just sort of asking, like, okay, God, what is your purpose for me right now? Like, what
Mhm.
do you have for me right now? Because you haven't left the throne, you're still there, you're with me, and God never wastes anything. So, what does He want to do? And just having that open heart and open mind, for sure. And I think we will, when we all come out of this, we will all look back and be, I think in some way we will all be changed by it,
Yeah.
in some way or another. And maybe we're not even seeing it right now, because we're like in the middle of it. But I think we'll look back and we'll see how God deepened our faith. And I think developing, like I mentioned, like a new kind of strong,
Mhm.
we will understand His strength better. Our faith will be deeper. Because it's, a
Mhm.
very unique season for sure. And I think our prayer lives are going to be richer, and there's also just, it's just really neat to see there's just a lot more kindness flowing for, between people. And my daughter was just telling me, I picked her up from work, and she was telling me about how, like, the people that come through the drive-through, she works at Chick-fil-A, and like are just so thankful, and they're just so nice. And there's definitely, like, it's different now than it was 4 weeks ago. The way people treat each other. I know if I have to go to the pharmacy or the store, I'm like thanking my cashier, like, genuinely, and um so, and again, just, I'm praying for the first responders and the medical personnel, and they're just really, truly the soldiers in the battle, for us. And um, I think, I know for me, my intercession, is at a new place for sure.
Yeah. I find myself doing that too. Like, you go to pick up food, or you go to the gas station, and, I haven't been out a lot, but everywhere I go, it's like you're thanking people for working, just because,
Yeah.
I think all of those people are first responders right now,
Mhm.
you know. You know,
Yeah.
my oldest daughter, she works at a doctor's office, a foot doctor's office, but they have still been open. And, that's been like a little bit of anxiety for me, just because, they have a baby, and now she's expecting another one. And so, um, just being out, amongst people, and so now this week, I guess they, let some of them go to just go home and collect unemployment until this is all over. They're still going to stay open, but with a limited staff. So that was like relief to
Yeah.
me, So yeah, I think when you go through something like this, I don't know how you could come out not being different, not looking at life differently, not looking at what's important, um,
Mhm.
and not, and I think that's where we make the choices, like you said, like coming out stronger, but it's making the choice, like, Lord, I want to use this time to strengthen my faith, to look, for the miracles. I shared yesterday, you're watching the numbers come in, and you're thinking, like, this is like when because it was like in the hundreds, and then all of a sudden it jumped from like 900 to 2400 in one day, and I was just like, oh man, this is, and you could just feel like and then And then I was like, all right, I'm going to change my perspective. And again, it was a choice I had to make, right? So I'm going to change my perspective. So I started Googling, like, well, what is the population in New Jersey? How many people are here? So what is the percent? So just even looking at that, like, that's honestly a miracle, really, that God is, he is protecting people. He is, providing for people. The fact that people can work at home,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there's, some people have lost their jobs or had to collect unemployment. But, a lot of people are still working. And so,
Hmm.
um, so just changing your perspective a little bit and realizing, that God is still working in the midst of it. And
Yeah.
we might not see it, we might not feel it, but he is working. And I think if you change your perspective, you will see it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Just looking at it through like a lens of like thankfulness, like what are my blessings in the midst of this? And, I think the big one is, um, just thankful that I can work from home, thankful that my kids, are able to do their schoolwork at home. And, I'm thankful that, like I see, posts from, the healthcare workers and they're like, there's many people that because they're so exposed or they're at risk, they're not even able to go home when they're done working. That they can't be with their families because there's too much of risk.
Yeah.
So I'm just where I'm at in my life and, where God has me. There's so many blessings right now, that
So you guys
I
are
appreciate those guys.
from further up north, correct?
Yeah, we were in Freehold, New Jersey for about 8 years.
So that's more central,
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
but you probably know people up there who are being more affected than we are, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah, like, Monmouth and Ocean County is, like, sort of the area where we were, and, yeah, they're definitely
Yeah.
having a lot of impact and definitely a lot of stress. We're praying for those guys and
Hmm.
yeah, so and we also even just across the network, um, New Jersey network, just our churches up north, and we have missionaries all over the globe who are dealing with COVID-19, and just continue to pray for healing um, for key people who are in leadership in missions. Thankfully, we're hearing mostly good reports. The recovery is slow. It's been slow for some of them, but
Hmm.
they seem to be on the right path.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I think it's, like I said, it's just important to go back to the truth of God's word, and I love the verse in Romans 15:14 that says that the scriptures were written for our instruction and to provide hope. And it's really so that we can read the book and get the instruction, but also that we can read the stories of the people who have gone before us, and we can see how God brought them through things, like I said, floods and famines and plagues and all kinds of things that God brought his people through. And when you go back to that and you read that, and it doesn't just become words in a book, it becomes, that's life for us now. Like I have to say, like, I would have never imagined that we would be living something like this, because it's things that you read in the Bible and you read and you think, well, that was back then, but now we're actually living something like that. Um, and yet God provided, and he, protected, and he gave instruction even during that time, for his people, like, do this so that you'll be provided for, do this so that, my
Mhm.
protection and my provision. And so, um, it's really important to just even be before the Lord, just asking for instruction,
Absolutely. And I know that we've been doing that, in the church leadership, starting to prepare of how we can, support ministries that are collecting food, and we're going to be pushing out some information soon, just because food security may start to really be affected, for families in need, and how can we help those that are sort of actively doing things that are working? How can we support them and keep them mobilized? Because this is going to be, it's a long haul, it's not going to just be over, snap your fingers and it will be over,
And that's
so.
probably where some people's fear and anxiety comes from. Not just how long is it going to last, but because again, like the things that are happening now, we're not really feeling the effects of that yet.
Mhm.
All we're really feeling is that we're safe in our home,
Yeah.
not really feeling the effects of the food, and financial, people. I mean, my dad's house is for sale, and it's been on the market for quite a while now, and so it's just like, even, okay, so what do I do with that? And just, how the economy's going to go, and people buying homes and not buying homes, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I just think that's where it's like, because like I said, for myself, I could feel like my heart start to it's like you're
Yeah.
physical, and so it's like, okay, I'm not going to go there. I can't go feed into that emotion, because I have to go back to what God says. Like, I know what it looks like around me, and I know what it feels like, but God promises that he'll leave us or forsake us. He promises that, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but he delivers us from them all. You
Yeah.
know, and he says he delivers us from them all, not just some,
Yeah.
all of them. And so,
Mhm.
he says, be still and know that I am God. Um,
Yes.
and you have to trust that he is going to work something good for this. And I think, um, some of that is just probably a wake up call for the country.
Mhm.
I don't want to bring condemnation. None of us do, but you look at society, and um, you know the things that we've allowed in society. The number of babies who are being aborted, and just people's morality levels, if you look at it, has just over decades really gone downhill. and,
Mhm.
and now people are searching for the truth. Now people are crying out to God, and you know if that is what good comes from it, that people would go back to even a simpler life. We've made everything materialistic, and
Mhm.
um and so you have to look at those things and think, like, is God really trying to give us a wake up call?
Right.
uh, you know?
Yeah. And yet I think people's, ears are more open than they've ever been. The eyes are more opened. So, speak Lord, to all of us for sure. Yeah.
And he will. That's the amazing thing. When you cry
Yeah.
out, you know he
Yeah.
will.
I love when he said he'll when you seek me, you will find me.
Yeah.
So he's not playing a hide and seek. He's not trying to not be found, you know. And he's there to provide the assurance that we need. And I was thinking about this today. I was thinking about Allie, my daughter, she just turned 16, and when she was born, she had this issue with her kidney called hydronephrosis, where there was like a little blockage in her kidney, and she had to have surgery when she was 3 months old. And it was scary. She was so tiny, and she got through it fine, and came home, and she was just having some things going on from her procedure that I didn't expect to happen. And I was really nervous, and I just wanted to like call the doctor and just say, like, make sure that this was normal, because the doctor is the one that has the PhD, the MD, and he has his credentials are on his wall. And but like John, was like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. And I'm like, no, you're not the doctor. I hear you, but like, I was just like, you don't have the credentials for me to trust what you're saying. So I'm sorry, but I'm calling the doctor. I called the doctor, and it was fine. She was fine. But I was thinking about how, like, for God, when we come to him with our questions, when we come to him with our concerns, like, he has all of the credentials that there could ever be to be the one to, hear our cries and answer our cries. And um, I don't know, I was just sort of chuckling remembering that. But he is our creator. He created this world. He created us. So if there's anyone that we should consult with, it should be him. He's the one. So just keeping that in mind as we're looking to, CDC and WHO and President Trump and Governor Murphy and all of these people, but ultimately God is our source.
Um, it's funny because one of the things that you would even, when you kind of sent me a few things that you jotted down, like about being real, and I think being real with your feeling. I think sometimes like we think, because I tend to do this. It's like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And some people are not doing fine, but they're afraid to say they're not doing fine because then, then um, they don't want people to think that they're not, strong in their faith, or that they're not believing, or that they're not trusting God. It's natural to feel, uh,
Hmm.
to feel some of the things that we're feeling, but it's
Right.
very important to it is important to be honest about it so that you can kind
Mhm.
of process it, even being honest with yourself, like,
Oh yeah.
and then saying, because listen, I have these conversations with myself, and so, like the thoughts or the fears come, and then I like literally have to kind of talk to myself, what, that's not the
Mhm.
okay, so this is what God's word says. Okay, so
Right.
you know what, and then I have to say to the devil, like, listen, you're not getting in my head today, I'm
Right.
not doing this. And so
Mhm.
um but it is real important to just, not just suppress those things and just pretend like everything is great, and
Yeah.
but to be honest, honest with God. I mean, he knows
Mhm.
what we're thinking and feeling anyway. um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Letting him, give us the peace, you know, and just brought me back to that verse, just when it says cast your cares upon him, for
Yeah.
he cares for us, right? Cast all your anxieties, pray,
Mhm.
with thanksgiving, and then the peace of God will flood your mind. And so
Mhm.
that's not the exact verse, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But
Guard your heart and mind, I think.
yeah, so but you kind of have to make the exchange. And if you're not
Right.
willing to be honest with God, then you're not really making the exchange. It's
Yeah.
going before him and saying, I'm struggling with this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happened. And this is how I feel, but I'm
Yeah.
asking, help me,
Yeah.
help me, give me, give me the verses to stand on right now. Give me peace that, that is going to, um, surpass all understanding. And so,
Yeah.
um, but you got to make the exchange. And I always
Yeah.
say that, because sometimes we want to either pretend like everything's okay when it's really not.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you're not standing in faith just because you are feeling what you're feeling. You feel what you feel, then you say, okay, I'm going to go back to the truth,
Right.
and you stand on that. And it's amazing when you do that, really, how God's peace does, flood your heart and mind. It
Yeah.
really does. But you kind of have to have that. It's like when you go to therapy and they don't tell you what to do, but they help you process it through.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like what we do with God, right? We process through those emotions. And then
Mhm.
as we're honest with God and as we lay those things down, then God just, gives us that peace that will overtake us, that will surpass all understanding.
Yeah. Just like realizing he has given us what we need, to walk through this. We're not helpless. We have tools, we have the truth, we have each other. So it's just a matter of like taking hold of it, and not getting stuck. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any verses you want to end with? Have anything you want to end?
Um, let's see. I think just my favorite right now is just to be still and know that I'm God, and like that, little story I told you about Allie's doctor. But that he's God and he's got us in the palm of his hand, and um,
Mhm.
we don't have to figure everything out, but just keep doing the next thing. So
There was two verses that kind of came to my heart, and I'm not going to read the whole verse, but and I think you guys maybe had talked about that even this week, but
mhm,
or John had, um, was Psalm 34, and and there's a couple things that I've highlighted in there, that I've shared, with the girls even in the jail. But when
mhm,
as I sought the Lord and He answered me, He delivered me from all of my fears.
mhm,
The angel of the Lord camps around those who fear Him and delivers them. And I love that just thought that that there's an angel that encamps around me and is protecting me. And and I had even said, recently that I feel like probably extra angels are being dispatched during this time, to just
mhm,
keep us, protected, but also to deliver us from our fears. And it also says, taste and see that the Lord is good, blessed is the man who takes refuge in Him. Uh,
mhm. Good.
and then it says, the righteous cry out and the Lord hears them, and He delivers them from all of their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the contrite of spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. And
Mhm, yeah.
it doesn't just say, well, He picks and chooses them, you know. And then just even yesterday, I had shared, Psalm 46, and you had just said, be still and know that I God. But the beginning says, God is our refuge and strength, a well-proven help in trouble. Therefore,
Mhm,
we will not fear, though the earth be removed and the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains shake with its swelling. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy dwelling place of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, and she will not be moved. God will help her in the early dawn. The nations roared, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come see the works of the Lord, who makes desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts off the spear. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
amen. That's good.
Love that whole, and even to say, He's our refuge and our strength in times of trouble, and therefore we will not fear though the earth be removed, and
Yeah.
what is happening. It's just,
Mhm.
amazing that this was written like so many years ago, thousands of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and just to know that, He's still God. Like He created the earth, He created us, created everything, and He will move in this situation, and He will have His way, and He will be exalted among the nations, will be exalted in the earth, and that His glory, you know and that's where I guess you have to go back to the truth, because when you read things like that, it almost, as a Christian, it almost makes you a little excited to see how God is going to move in all this.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable for some of us, but to see the glory of God, in the time that we're, going through, and just to see what he's going to do in our in the earth, and then also within us, and then within the church. People
Yeah.
about revival, but the revival starts with the people, and the
Yeah.
people have left the building. So, it's a
Church
great.
has left the building.
So it is a time for revival, for people of the church to be praying more and seeking more and loving more, you know.
Mhm.
So
Amen. Yeah. Well, a couple of months from now, we'll be able to sort of talk about, we'll have a few more little pieces of what God's doing, you know?
I think it's been amazing, just on a side note, to just watch some of the churches. I mean, I have to give them props because there's been so many people really who have just stepped up, and they didn't have a clue what they were doing with social media,
Mhm.
and they're figuring it out,
Right.
and
Yep.
it's been, amazing to watch. Just, um, I have to say though, it's slightly distracting because on Sunday morning now, there's like, you know, church after church after church after church. It's like you're just thinking. I mean, the good thing is you can go to 10 churches on Sunday and not miss
Yeah.
a church service, but
Yeah.
it can be a really distracting when you're, have too many.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading just it was like some words of advice for navigating this new world, and they were encouraging you like whatever like your home church is, like try to like be with your home church when they're live, and then, throughout your day go back and you have all day to sort of check out everyone else and because it is just that's like a point of focus because there is like so much, available now.
Like to get up and get dressed like you're going to church,
Mhm.
Bible, have your notes, have your whatever you're going to do, like you're going to church. I just want to say that too, real quick. Like, even during the week, I think that's important because I think
Yeah.
those little things, especially for women, help us to feel better. Get up, take a
Mhm.
shower, do
Get
your
ready, yep.
makeup, just like it's a regular day. Even if you're working from home, don't sit
Mhm.
in pajamas all day. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
then you'll end up you'll be bonbons for the day instead of so yeah, so just get up like you're going to church and worship. Like I said that yesterday, like it's really important. 3 weeks ago we were all standing in church raising our hands, praising God. Maybe
Right.
you're still doing that even though you're home.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, it was great to see your little face.
I know, I know. Miss everyone. But yeah, this was fun, so
Yeah, can't wait to
hopefully
get back together, but I think it's going to be a little while, so we'll have to
probably
continue.
probably we gotta honor this social distancing, and recognizing I think too, we'll be seeing how it seems like as a country they're starting to look at like what's happening in different areas and different states in terms of how quickly they'll resume to normal. But I think we'll be in this place for a while.
Yeah, I think with like even like I said, like even with the numbers, like you know, just speaking the truth of God's word, but then even just speaking the reality of truth, like you have to realize that the numbers are going to, that's what again, like I have to remind myself, like the numbers are going to go up, and then they're going to start to go down, and so you know you have to be expecting that, and I think when you realize those types of things, like I said, like for myself, okay, there's 9 million people, it's like 8.8 million people in the state of New Jersey. Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, it isn't that high. And
Right.
just making sure that you're really, um, it's like I said, listen, it's why God gives us, that warning in the Bible. The
Yeah.
devil is, roaming like a, what is it, a lion, seeking whom he can devour. The devil, the enemy can steal, kill, and destroy. Like he's, he's on alert, right now. He doesn't have corona. He's not quarantined to his home. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is roaring or roaming around right now, seeking whom he can devour. And if you're not intentional, I love that God gave me that word in the beginning of the year. Uh,
Yeah.
if you're not intentional and keeping your mind filled with the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably never would have thought just how much that would mean.
I think it's
Beginning of the year.
I think it's interesting that in the beginning of the year everyone was talking about it's 2020 new vision. That was the word for um but man, like how quickly everything shifted. And
Yeah.
so like even though this is like a really scary time, I don't know, I think it does give you new vision, like new
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
We didn't expect it was going to come this way, um but God will use what he uses to. do his will and purpose. So
And just seeing what's really important. I think that's what it's come down to. What's really important in life, you know. So.
it's when you realize, I mean, yeah, uh, yeah, you really realize. So, all right, Lise. Well,
Thanks for having me.
thanks for coming on today. Thanks for joining me. It was
No problem. We'll see. And I'm sorry if you hear a boy's voice in the background. It's my son on video games.
him in the background.
Okay, I can hear him. All right, we'll see you later.
No noise here, so I love it. All right, well, I'll see you soon.
See ya. Bye.